This is full screen boss fight.
Hi. So, I know that people talk about video games being overpriced. Video games are kind of hitting that weird place where most games are $60 and $70 respectively. Now they're trying to push for $80 games, and also there's an argument being made now that GTA 6 should be $100 out the gate. That's just the base game. We're not talking about like games with, say, bonuses or pre-order bonuses or resin statues or any of the other extra things that tend to happen when a game releases. In this weird time period that we exist in, occasionally something will happen that will just turn the entirety of the industry on its head. And right now, that thing is Silksong's release. Silksong's release is fascinating. It's a fascinating case study, and it's an argument that goes against everything that actually exists and why it exists. And I think this is something that does need to be studied. It does need to be implemented, and people need to reconsider how the industry does things just off of this particular thing. Not because Silksong is that much of a momentous occasion. Not that Silksong is revolutionary in its ideas. Just the fact that they're doing something, the Team Cherry, they're doing something that was normal not even 20 years ago. To the point where people were able to get really big games that would last them for months on end at a budget price that actually gave them a sense of value. Because this is what we're talking about. When you're talking about the Silksong situation, you're clearly talking about an issue of value. And Silksong is giving you a 15 to 20 hour game with a challenging difficulty at the price of $20. We used to have PlayStation 1 games that did that. In fact, I remember there was a time period where I could go to GameStop, I could get paid that day. I don't have to break the bank. All I have to do is put down like $20 and I got Castlevania Chronicles or Ray Crisis or Blaster Master Blasting Again. Those games were like in the $15 to $20 range. Those were budget price games that were given to you at a value because you're getting a 20-hour game with increased difficulty for a good price. In the case of Castlevania Chronicles, you were getting a game that was probably like 9 stages with increased difficulty at that price. That's wild. But there are people out here that will tell you that this is a problem. This is a whole problem. It's disrupting everything that exists right now. You're pricing yourselves out. But you saw digital storefronts crashing because of the demand of that product. So I don't think that the people that are complaining, and we'll talk about that in just a moment, I don't think the people who are complaining really understand how things work, or they're just too set in how the industry is going now to understand that once upon a time, you can get these games for that price and you are actually getting something out of it. But this is an interesting concept and I really want to talk about this. So this all starts here. This is Gabe Newell's quote. Gabe Newell's quote on piracy, to be precise. This was a comment that kind of resonated with me. One thing that we have learned is that piracy is not a pricing issue, it's a service issue. The easiest way to stop piracy is to not be putting anti-piracy technology to work. It's by giving those people a service that is better than what they are receiving from the pirates. Now, that's going to resonate for a lot of reasons. He says it's not a pricing issue, which, yes, in most cases it is a service issue. It's a matter of what advantages are you giving aside from having somebody just bootleg the game. What types of things are you giving them? What's the value there? Value is a large portion of this. Now, pricing is a factor. It can be a factor there, but value is the key. Giving somebody something that's valuable, or that's like you're getting more than what you paid into it, to where you feel like you might be getting over on somebody. That's the feel of value. Now, it's weird because people tend to, I want to say for the most part, nowadays people think that they have to overcharge for things. You're paying more and you're getting less. But it wasn't always like that. Once upon a time, your money actually went further and you can get things that you really wanted. Now, corporate greed is an issue. Corporate bullshittery is definitely an issue. And there's a lot of people out here that just want to give you things in pieces and keep you locked into a service for as long as possible. But those things are kind of going away because I don't think people really are that heavy into services or games as a service anymore. It came and it went, and it's going away in good time. When you put out something, let's say something of value, and you're actually you're getting more value out of this than what you paid into it, you do have that weird feeling that you felt like you stole it. And people used to joke about these things in their sales pitches. Prices are so cheap you think you stole it. But that was there to kind of tell you that, yeah, hey, you're going to get some good deals here. You're going to get something that's worth a damn here. You got something admirable. You something to look at, little nigga. like that type of shit. But I told you that to tell you this story. Silksong's price of $20 is so reasonable that known game pirates are encouraging people just to buy it instead of stealing. Other fans believe they underpaid for the game and want to give Team Cherry more money. Now this is what I'm talking about. You're getting something out of this for a price that is so low that you feel like you are taking advantage of the developers. Now, it might be an unintended psychological bonus to this whole thing, but it's an interesting case study because it's showing that if you bring value back as an option, if you actually give people things that are kind of equal to what they're paying into, they might be willing to actually put a little bit more money in for, like, say, expansions or things like that. So let's get into this article. Although Silksong has already been pirated, likely due to the lack of DRM on PC, many members of the piracy subreddit came out and urged players to purchase the game instead. One particular post was flooded with people revealing that they actually plan on spending money on this one. First game I bought in a while, said one reply. Team Cherry has done so well that even our piracy members are buying their game, added another. The low price was mentioned as the main reason behind the change of heart, but also the fact that it's a small development team that has done all the right things in the lead up to launch, which is another factor that needs to be looked at, because Team Cherry did actually do everything right in this instance. They didn't go into the hype cycle. They didn't try to bullshit you with like all these lofty ideas. They wanted to put out a decent game, and they wanted to have that ready for you to be out there and play it. The moment it was ready to go, they put out a street date, and then they stuck to that street date, and then they threw out the price, and they stuck to that price. This is everything that flies into the face of every marketing PR stunt that has ever happened in the last 20 years. They actually give a shit enough about the consumer to want to give them a decent game at a decent price with a huge challenge factor and replayability. This is a super pro consumer move, and it's actually a really good consumer move. Now, let me be honest with you. I own Hollow Knight. My brother bought it for me. I play Metroidvanias a lot. But Hollow Knight, I'm just kind of like, well, okay, it'll be there. I'll play it whenever. But this makes me actually want to be interested in purchasing the game because it's decent value. I had people on Twitter tell me that this is a decent value. I bought it because it was this cheap. But that's the thing, is like giving people a value, giving people a means to actually purchase something, or giving people a means to actually purchase something at a decent price, but have it be entertaining and keeping you engaged for long periods of time. That is something that's missing from the industry at large. If you do right by the consumer, if you do right by the customer, you start to see the benefits of that. And there's a lot of bigger companies that have lost sight of this. Maybe it's corporate greed. Maybe it's the fact that the publishers that bought out those companies, or the companies that absorbed those other companies, decided that they're going to bank on the more trendy shit, or because maybe they lost themselves staring into the abyss for all this time. But somebody doing this in this era, in this time period where you see a lot of real bullshit going on, is something that's admirable. Like, this reminds me of the Nintendo Selects situation. Nintendo Selects titles were sold at a lower price point, usually $19.99 instead of $49.99, than new releases. Program paralleled other budget range software, Sega All-Stars, Sony's Greatest Hits and Essentials, and Microsoft's Platinum Hits and Xbox Classics to promote best-selling games on their consoles as well as in Japan. The discount label was introduced in 2015 for various Nintendo 3DS titles as the Happy Price Selection, although South Korea adopted the Nintendo Select's name in an earlier period. So this was basically the same business model that existed back in the day when people actually put out a budget price range to get in new players or get people to purchase the more popular titles at a cheaper price. This is the thing that we tend to keep talking about. A budget selection, a budget range, kind of a budget bracket for games, popular titles, would be good to net people into purchasing games that they otherwise wouldn't purchase because of the price range being a factor. Apparently, though, there are a few people that disagree with this and they don't necessarily want that happening. This is from last week's RNH, and I saw and I was like, let me expand on this a bit more. The Rose Experience, the Rose Company, responded to a quote from Lone Fungus. As a dev making a smaller Metroidvania than Silksong, which I originally thought would be fairly priced at $20 USD, what should I price it now? It'll be a 10 to 15 hour game, but is made by one person with limited dev time and funds. I can't afford to give it away for free. $20 is just fine, considering that Team Ladybug is a smaller development team that actually does the same types of Metroidvanias or same types of experiences. D-Lit and Wonder Labyrinth, when it was released, came out at $19.99, I want to say it was $29.99, but it was priced down to, I want to say $17 on launch due to a Steam kind of discount. Toho Luna Nights is $17.99 right now. Blade Chimera is out at $20 right now, and Blade Chimera is the most recent game. It is all right to price your game out at $20. It's perfectly fine to do that. I think that pricing should be reflective of what you think the audience can handle. But let's see what the Rose Experience believes on this one. This is a fair statement, and quite honestly, Team Cherry Games really does a disservice to the industry and other developers pricing Silksong so low. The level of work, the craftsmanship, and the years, and you charge $20? I get being pro-consumer, but this will be infuriating to your colleagues and in turn distort games' sense of worth. I disagree. And I feel like you're only saying this because the game is coming out at that price point. You should price the game based off of its value, but don't overprice it because you'll price yourself right out of the market. A $30 10 to 15 hour game, whatever, yeah, that sounds reasonable, but people are going to be a bit more choosy about whether they want to purchase that or want to purchase something else. You have to remember that games are luxury. They're in competition with wanting to buy food or groceries or utilities or wanting to make sure that you have everything taken care of. The joy of actually going into a GameStop and wanting to actually purchase a game on payday when I was in my younger years was the fact that I can get a game for $20. I could buy Resident Evil Director's Cut for like $20, buy a pizza and still have enough money to take care of everything else or whatever. It was a small luxury, but it was like I was only spending about maybe $30 to $40 in one day for one thing. I wasn't spending $80 or $90 or $70 on a game, and then what should I get? Well, if I spend $70 on this game because of FOMO and I wound up shortchanging myself, I was gonna go stop at Little Caesars on the way home. I guess I should go ahead and just get a pack of top ramen or some shit like that and make it a night. You are in competition with everything else around you, and if you consider that, making a game come out at say $20 or under $30, whatever, you're lessening a person's question of whether they want to purchase this or not. It's more advantageous for them to say, hey, I can actually part with $20 and be perfectly fine. I still have enough money to do everything else that I need to. And that's the problem. People don't think like that anymore. They think that, oh, everybody else is pricing games well into the $70s and $80 to $100 range. I should do the same. And it's poisoning the games. You notice that people are saying that they're purchasing less and less games at this point due to the rising cost of games. So why not make it so that they actually look at this and say, hey, this is a game I've been waiting for a long time. It's really cool. I really like this game. I really like the ideas that are presented in this game. The gameplay looks hot. There's a lot of fun stuff going on here. It's $20. I could part with $20 easy. So it doesn't stop there, by the way. I think Silksong's 2-week PR push has done some damage to other indie studios. I don't think Team Cherry thought about the impact this game would have on other indies in their marketing. I think that's a bummer, and I hope it isn't replicated, to be honest. Many indie developers are delaying their games to get out of Hollow Knight Silksong's way. They had marketing plans which now have to be changed because of something they couldn't anticipate. Well, that's the thing. Perhaps instead of actually focusing on this long range, high hype cycle, FOMO bullshit, we should probably focus on actually delivering a decent game first, showing people what they're going to get from that game, and actually being a bit more honest and front facing towards our consumer base. Perhaps that's actually something that's warranted and something that's necessary to go forward in games. I can't be the only person that thinks that it's kind of fucked up for Silksong to reveal its release date so late. Like, man, you're indie developers. You should understand the struggle that studios go through. By the way, Team Cherry absolutely had the responsibility of giving a heads up about the release of Silksong and accommodating other indie devs in regards to it. Art isn't made in a vacuum. See, this is the problem that I've pointed out on Twitter earlier today. The games are art argument is the albatross around the neck of the gaming industry. This whole push for games as art has a bunch of people acting like it's terrible for somebody to stealth release a game, or like release a game at a small price or whatever, and now your pretentious game isn't going to get the hype cycle that it is. Once upon a time, and this is probably where I should end it because it's getting to be quite a long video. Once upon a time, people used to be able to compete with other people. Oh, this person is doing this. I'm going to compete with them, and I'm actually going to try to put out this or whatever. I'm going to add this, up the ante here. I'm going to do this or whatever. This whole go along to get along thing that has been going through gaming in the last 2 console generations is ruining games. It is fucking ruining games. You can treat this shit like the coyote and the sheepdog and the old Looney Tunes cartoons, where once you punch out for the day, you guys can have drinks and have a good night and be friends all you want. But there needs to be a sense of competition that exists within the gaming industry for gaming in order to be pushed to its ultimate level. This is a problem. You need to let us know when you do things like that so we can accommodate. No, fuck you. The industry wasn't like that. And the reason why the industry was as good as it was back in the 80s and 90s and even the early 2000s to an extent was because everybody was in competition with each other. It wasn't about, you need to let me know, we need to all be friends, we need to unionize, all this other shit. No, it was every man for themselves. We were putting out products and we were actually trying to sell it to as many people as possible. What makes this game better than this game? What makes Sonic better than Mario? What makes like fucking Crash Bandicoot better than either of those other two? This fake friendship bullshit and this passive aggressive garbage that people keep posting on Twitter needs to end. You need to find your fucking ballsack, get out there and put out a product and not care about like, oh, Silksong's putting out something. Okay, they're doing something. They're doing something that's making moves. So it's time for you to actually figure out the way to adapt to what they're doing and come up with something of your own. That's how you solve the problem. It's not whining about it on Twitter. It's not whining about it to other people and all this other shit. Put out a decent product. Put out the best possible product. Try to get as many people on board with your product and start acting like a fucking company. So Permaban says this. I feel like ranting about this, if you can tell me if I'm wrong about it. Maybe it's just me, but I find it very stupid that so many indie devs and game journalists are attacking Hollow Knight, Silksong's devs for announcing a game release date 2 weeks in advance instead of longer and charging players $20 for it and not higher. How is Cherry inconsiderate and horrible for giving other indie devs such short notice window and how their pricing hurts them? To me, all of this sounds like self-centered, cynical indie game dev politics nonsense, which I believe it is, actually. Yeah, maybe we should do away with that whole, this pecking order hierarchy bullshit and actually just make games. Well, that's the whole point of being an indie game developer, isn't it? It stopped being that in 2015 when you had a bunch of people like, people like Maya Felix Kramer and a bunch of all these other people just kind of grab-assing each other and giving each other fucking backdoor deals. It was the indie clique, and it was a whole issue that was a whole problem. And it gave rise to people like Zoe Quinn, and it gave rise to a whole bunch of other people that really just didn't need to be involved in the scene. People that wound up scamming a lot of people and then ditching to go live their best lives in Japan with the money they got from the funding. Like, that's the type of stuff that was a problem back then. If I see more developers actually going the route that Team Cherry did, that kind of proves to me that we might actually be on the mend from a lot of this bullshit. If I were a game dev and I finished a game I made and I want to release it, I'll decide how long I want to inform my customer base in advance. It is my game. No other indie click dev can help me in making it. Again, I'm reminded about how much I dislike the indie game scene. They are functionally anything but independent. The same clicks, the same backstabbing, the same throwing each other under the bus. At its core, they're just like the corporate game devs with a different coat of paint. Now, Ali Barter did talk about that, and it state that the indie game scene is kind of propped up by a lot of corpos. There's a lot of people that claim that they're indie, but they're actually getting corporate money or they're getting corporate backing in order to put out a game. And I'm not surprised, especially when you look at how this is behaving. It just tells me that these guys are corpo-backed people, and they actually have all this stuff set up, this advertising hype cycle, all this other stuff. They're playing the games that a lot of the big corpos are playing, but they're mad because one game development company of 3 people, they decide they're going to release a game, and they gave you a 2 weeks notice of the game's release, and they gave you a price point that's below the standard that a lot of people are putting out there. It'll be a matter of time before we actually see what the sales are for this game, or how much this game is made. But if it shows that this game actually sold like gangbusters, or has sold millions and millions of copies just off of their actions alone, all it's telling me is that they're doing things right, and this is the way that we need to be moving forward as an indie game industry. If you're mad about that, or if you feel that this is not the way that things should go, well, reality is actually telling me otherwise, and I don't know what to tell you. You might have to adjust your expectations and possibly adapt or die, because it is what it is. Anyways, I'm out of here. Thank you for joining for this. See you next boss fight. Take care.